Welcome to another Facebook Live presentation. Hope you guys are enjoying these. We have fun doing them. So I'm Frank Romney, and Josh Elzy also works with me, and I'll be doing the presentation this week, and then next week you'll get a break and get to listen to Josh. Today we're talking about vestibular dysfunction, which deals with balance, dizziness, and vertigo. This is something we specialize in here, and it's a really it's a problem that's becoming more pronounced. They're more aware of it with older folks, but it's also a problem with young folks as well. Y'all remember, the older folks will remember this. I remember this as a kid, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. What a great movie. Okay, so when I do balance presentations, I did an independent living center a while ago, and I asked them at the beginning of it, how many of you have problems with balance? And I thought, being elderly, there'd be a lot. About 10% said yes. Most of them said no problem. By the time we finished the half-hour presentation and talked about balance and dizziness and vertigo, etc., 90% said yes, and half of them were coming up asking questions after the presentation. So why is that? Why is this something we think we don't have a problem when we do? Well, there's an easy answer. There's different types of dizziness or balance issues. There's motion sickness, there's lightheadedness, there's behavioral dizziness, there's vertigo, and there's disequilibrium. So let's talk about those. So behavioral dizziness is that fear of falling. You're scared you're going to fall down, so you do things like avoid heights. You don't get up on ladders. You try and avoid stairs. If you do stairs, you're hanging onto that rail with white knuckles. You have a fear of going out in public. You're embarrassed to be with others because you don't want to fall in front of them and have them think you're drunk or whatever it may be. So lots of times this particular pattern causes people to be recluse in their own home. They just stay home and quit being social. Okay, then there's lightheadedness, which can be wooziness, visual sensitivity. So when you have problems like this, really busy environments like a grocery store with all the shelves and lights and people and products, movie theaters with big, with all the lights and flashing and all the things that go into a movie. Sometimes driving in heavy traffic, especially at night when all the lights and that are flashing, these can set off these symptoms. Then your basic disequilibrium or unsteadiness, wobbly on your feet. So this is common. You have difficulty with stairs. When you stand up, sometimes you have to fight for your balance, or you're laying down in bed and you sit up and you have to wait for a minute for your head to clear, and then you start walking. Walking and turning your head, like looking when somebody calls your name, you look to the right and you kind of veer off the path or almost lose your balance. You have difficulty walking in low light or on uneven surfaces. So if you're at a family gathering at a park and it gets dark and you have to walk across that lawn, that could be trouble. Or at night, you get up out of bed, you have to use the restroom. If there's not a light on, you have great difficulty making it to the bathroom and not tripping or falling. Then there's motion sickness. We all know this one. Nausea, vomiting, typical car sickness, riding vehicles, airplanes, amusement park rides, swinging on a swing set. So two things on that. Several years ago, my wife and I bought a lagoon season pass so we could take our grandkids on rides. And at first, the first time I started going on some of the rides, I got really icky and it was just really difficult. But by the end of the summer, we could go on all the rides just one after another and had no problem because we were able to habituate and get our system going again. And then this past weekend, we were at my son's home and we both sat on the swing set and started swinging. And we thought, boy, we can't take much of this because we're not used to it. So often this is something as you get older, you tolerate the spinning and the swinging kind of activities less, but you can overcome them. Okay, then there's the famous vertigo, spinning, rolling, turning sensation, the one that's just debilitating. And I did that just for you guys that have that. Okay, so the room's spinning and you're not even moving. You can't sit up. You can become very nauseous, and basically it's a debilitating condition when severe. This is one, though, that you can make even worse. So beware of internet information for self-treatment. So the inner ear has 3 semicircular canals, and this is where the little debris or stones or calcium deposits or whatever you want to call it, it gets into this, and there's fluid in there, and when the debris is in there and it moves in the fluid, it gives you the sensation you're moving even though you're not. The problem is if it's in this canal and you do a maneuver, it can help it. But if it's in this canal and you do that same maneuver, you can make it worse. Or if you do this one or this one and do the maneuver incorrectly. So I hear this all the time. I have vertigo. I went online. I saw the Epley maneuver, and so I did it. So here in this particular case, it says turn 45 degrees to the right. Well, that's great if it's in the right posterior canal. But if it's in the left canal, that's not going to help. If it's in the horizontal canal, that is not going to help. So I had a neighbor, and he was having problems with vertigo. And so he went online, he saw this, he did it, and he became so sick, he just went to the floor. He had a crisis of Tumarkin, which is basically, it knocks it from one canal into another one, and it makes everything 100 times worse than you were already feeling. You were feeling nauseated, you had a hard time standing, sitting, whatever. This one, you could actually drop to the floor, or just your body will extend and you just fall backwards and you have no control, and it's a very serious condition. So this Epley maneuver is for one of the specific canals. If you do it with a horizontal canal or do it incorrectly, you don't do all steps correctly, you can set yourself into this position, this problem. And even professionals, for example, when you're sitting back up, if you don't keep your head bent forward a little bit and you just extend your neck, you could throw that debris into this horizontal canal and go into that crisis of Tumarkin, and it is not pretty. It gives you the feeling like you need to go to the emergency room immediately. So be careful on that. So anyway, we think of the inner ear. We think of the inner ear when it comes to balance and dizziness issues. But you know what? There's 3 different systems. So here's the inner ear. Here's those canals we talked about where you can get the debris that moves in there and causes the feeling, that vertigo, the room spinning, and the nausea. Okay. But dizziness can be a result of the eyes. For example, as we get older and we turn our head, let's say we turn our head to the left, the head turns, but the eyes are delayed, almost like a reindeer bird, and the eyes kind of go ch-ch-ch, and we call it saccadic intrusions. But you'll see when you're watching somebody do that, their eyes don't smoothly go with the head turns, and then the eyes kind of catch up. So all of a sudden, then the eyes see, oh, there's a step there, and it surprises you, and you can fall down. So eyes can be a problem, not being able to stay on target or track, or just vision problems. Or if you have problems with low light, that will throw off your balance as well. And then feet. So that's the somatosensory system. So you've got the ears, the eyes, and the feet, or the ground forces letting you know what you're stepping on. For example, if you have diabetic neuropathies and you have numbness in your feet, you can't feel if you're stepping on a crack, on a bump, on an even surface, and that can throw off your balance. So there are ways to help train the other systems to make up for that loss. So balance is a little more complicated than just doing that, going to the internet and doing the Epley maneuver and hoping you cure it. Interesting facts. This is for older folks. Every 11 seconds, an older adult is treated in an emergency room for a fall, and this is due to balance issues. This is one I didn't put on there, but the interesting fact is they go to the emergency room, treated for a fall, maybe they break a hip or do whatever, and they're treated for that, but they are rarely referred out for the underlying balance problem. If they were, then we could prevent future problems, but they're not. So they break their hip, or they sprain the ankle, or do whatever, they go back home, they still have the same issue that sent them to the emergency room. So if you're listening to this and you're older, if you feel like you have balance issues and your doctor has not addressed it, talk to them about it. Say you have concerns, because there are things out there to help you and improve your life. Another fact, 1/3 of the population over 65 falls every year. So again, this is something important, and it's becoming a #1 concern for Medicare because there's so many falls, and the results of the falls are not good. Okay, so older people are not the only ones with balance or dizziness issues. So it can be anybody of any age: a car accident, a head injury, or neck injury, whiplash, sports injuries, recreational injuries, an endo on a bike and hitting your head or straining your neck. It could be a work injury, falling off a skateboard, slipping on the ice and hitting your head or your neck. So interestingly, when you look at the symptoms, signs and symptoms of a concussion, it has the usual headache, nausea, ringing, vomiting, whatever, but also you can have problems with dizziness. And if you have multiple concussions and they're not addressed correctly, this could be a problem. So I found this. This is interesting. This is the number of concussions in different sports, boys or men and women, per 10,000 in the NCAA. This is from the NCAA data. Notice that ice hockey for men is one of the highest, but look at women's soccer. So you think soccer is not that big a sport, not usually considered a real contact sport, but women's soccer is high, and women's basketball for concussions. Okay, now look at this one. In high school, so boys football is the highest for concussions, and then lacrosse. And I used to do on-field injury for both sports, so I know this one. But look at girls soccer, not boys soccer, girls soccer. It's right up there with lacrosse, so it is like the third highest, but it's the #1 for girls. Then we go to college, and we see some of the others change. Baseball drops down, some others drop down, but again, if you look right here, women's soccer is still the high one, and basketball, and then of course you have hockey and wrestling in college, and football drops down even below women's soccer, which is pretty interesting. So what about little children and head injuries and problems with this? It can happen to little kids too. And these are the causes: struck by an object, a collision, a fall. I mean, how many times do kids fall downstairs or fall off toys or at the park? Struck by a person or assault. So, balance, dizziness, and vertigo issues. First thing is, lots of times we sprain an ankle, we hurt our arm, we say, I'll get by. Well, getting over balance issues is different than getting over an ankle sprain or a sore shoulder or some other weekend warrior injury. Self-treatment can often make the problem worse. For example, see this all the time. A young athlete, they're taken off the team and told to stay home from school because of concussion precautions. So they stay home, no physical activity, but they play video games and watch TV and movies for 12 hours. Well, guess what? With a concussion, that's working the damaged area, your brain. And so if you're not avoiding that type of thing, so your eyes can just be relaxed, dark situations, quiet, you're actually making it worse, because watching video games with a concussion is like playing baseball with a broken arm. You're damaging and making the problem worse. But a lot of people don't understand that. They think, I'm not going to play the sport, I'm staying home from school, but I got to watch videos or something, and you're actually straining the injured brain. Ignoring the problem can often lead to injuries from falls. So someone says, I have a little problem with balance, but it's not that big a deal. And yet their spouse or friend will say, oh yeah, they trip on the stairs quite frequently, they've had a few falls. Well, let's say they fall down and break their hip and they're over 65. They have to have a hip surgery, and guess what? There's a high chance of them dying from all the trauma. So this is not something to take lightly. If you've got a grandparent, older parent, friends that have this problem, you need to get them to the doctor, get a prescription, and get them into us so that we can help them and not have this disastrous ending. So, questions to ask yourself. Have you had a fall in the past year? Other than somebody tripping you, but just a fall, you tripped on something, you lost your balance, you're unsteady, whatever it may be. Are you scared that you're going to fall? Do you have significant hearing problems? Do you experience dizziness or imbalance? Do you sit up out of bed and have to sit there and wait for a minute? Do you stand up out of a chair and have to wait for a second? If you're walking, you turn your head quickly. Do you kind of lose some of your balance? Are you unsteady? If you're walking on grass, are you really nervous? Do you shuffle, take small shuffling steps? Are you always looking down to see where you're walking? Okay. Do you lose your balance when stepping up or down curbs or going up or down stairs? Do you have a difficult time walking in the dark or low light? Do you have problems with motion sickness? Do you feel like you're a fall risk? You're an accident waiting to happen? Well, if you do have balance or dizziness issues or vertigo issues, what are you going to do? You can do nothing and just hope everything works out, or keep limiting your life, or maybe end up having an injury that becomes a lot worse and you have to have surgery or worse than that. You can keep taking medicine for it and hope that controls it, or you can get the appropriate treatment. And with balance, the appropriate treatment is pretty significant. But before we talk about that, I just wanted to show you, this is a video of some older folks, and just showing you some of the things we challenged them with. But the last lady, you'll see she came in 9 times. When she first came in, just walking on the flat floor and turning around, she would lose her balance. She was living in an assisted living center. She had quit driving and basically just stayed there all the time. When we finished with her, she joined the Ogden Athletic Club, where our clinic is located. She started driving again, and she was the bubbliest, outgoing lady. So enjoy this little video. Okay, so that was some fun stuff. You saw all those folks. You'd see them the first time, then you see as we progress them. Um, and they're stepping over foam rolls and on up steps and things like that. But it translates into the ability to be outside. And you saw that last lady. Again, at first she couldn't even turn around on a flat floor, and yet she was walking down uneven grass, and then those rocks. Those were not steps. That was up the rock wall. She wanted to do it. I was there to hang on, make sure, but I did not help her. My finger. I was hanging onto the harness, but I was not lifting her. So there is help out there for these problems. And so why choose us for physical therapy for balance issues? Number one, we have specialized infrared goggles that allow us to monitor your eyes to check for things like BPPV or the vertigo causing problem. We have computerized Vertec testing system. We can determine is the problem coming from the ears, the eyes, the feet, or somatosensory system, or a combination of any of those three. And we have specialized equipment that allows us to safely challenge and improve your balance. So there's the goggles, the Vertec pressure or computer platform, and different things, including the overhead harness, to allow us to challenge you without hanging on to you. So here's something for some of you that have just a little bit of a balance problem. This is something you can do. You want to stand in a corner or maybe between two kitchen chairs so you have something to grab onto, feet close together, and then you close your eyes and just try and balance. If that's okay, then you try move one foot forward as if you took a step, and the same thing, and then you can do the other foot. If you want to challenge yourself even more, in all three of these positions, close your eyes and turn your head side to side, and then up and down 5 times each. And when that's really easy, then you can stand on a foam pad or a pillow. But be sure to have a chair or a wall close by in case you start to lose your balance. If you have significant balance issues, do not do this exercise. Call your doctor, get a prescription for therapy, and let us help you resolve your balance issues. There is help, and most everybody can improve on these type of issues. Okay, that's our presentation for today. Again, this is a really important topic. It's something that a lot of people are limiting their lives over because they think there's no help, or they're proud, or they're denying that they have a problem. Again, if you want a free 15-minute consult, call us at 801-476-2000. If you don't want to come in but have a question, email it to these addresses. We'll try and answer your question. And we have telehealth that we can work through your insurance. If you have family or friends that could benefit from the seminar, they can go to the Facebook page and watch the presentation. They are recorded, so you can go back and watch them and see our other posts. You can also follow us with our Instagram posts. And this next week, we'll try and put some different posts on regarding balance that can be beneficial. If you enjoy these live presentations and you would like us to do one on a specific topic, email us and we'll see what we can do to meet your needs. Okay, have a safe day. If you got balance issues, don't be proud. Call your doctor and let us get the help you need. And if you like us, let us know on Facebook or follow us on Instagram. Have a great day. Be safe, and we'll see you next week.